Hello, GitKon. My name is Justin Roberts. I am a Senior Director of Product here at GitKraken. I've been working with the team for the last 9 years to design, build, and deliver dev tools like the GitKraken client and the brand new GitKraken's CLI. I'm really excited to be here today. I want to talk about some of the things that we've been working on that will continue to improve the developer experience. And that is the title of my talk, how we are evolving the developer experience and give you some insight into our vision of focus and collaboration for teams. Now, when we talk about the developer experience, it's really about creating an effective environment for developers to work. It's about reducing friction and cognitive load, and it's about shortening feedback loops for teams. Here at GitKraken, I think that we are uniquely positioned to help with that. We build a number of dev tools that help developers, including the GitKraken client. We have GitLens inside of VS Code. We have a brand new GitKraken CLI for your terminal. And in the next couple of months, we'll be announcing GitKraken.dev, which is a browser-based experience for interacting with your teams, your workspaces, and your repositories. There are two features that we've been working on that kind of span all of those products. And they're really important for helping you improve your focus and helping you work with your team. The first is GitKraken Focus. It is aimed at improving individual developer productivity and facilitating better communication with your teammates. It aims to reduce the cognitive load and context switching when working across multiple systems and repositories. And the second one is called Cloud Patches, which I will explain in a little bit, let you think a little bit about what that might mean. But Cloud Patches are ultimately aimed at improving your team's productivity, helping you to shorten feedback loops by facilitating better collaboration earlier in the development cycle with your team. So when developers need to focus, what are we talking about? Well, developers' work is usually spread out across multiple systems and across multiple repositories. You're usually working on some sort of issue or task that's coming out of Jira or Azure, or maybe even in GitHub or GitLab or something like Trello. You have your current work in progress, your working directory changes, the code that you're writing, and that's going to be in your IDE. It's going to be showing up in your Git GUI. It's going to be showing up in your terminal. And then ultimately, that work goes on to get reviewed, usually in a system like GitHub, GitLab, or Bitbucket, or Azure DevOps in pull requests. Now, the cognitive load involved in kind of managing all of these is really high because you have to constantly switch between multiple systems to see what the next thing is you need to work on, how you get to actually writing the code or reviewing the code. What we're trying to do is pull all of this information into a way that helps you focus on all of it, prioritize it, and take action on the most important things. So what you see here is a representation of the GitKraken Focus view. This is in the client, but again, there's a representation of this same information in GitLens, in VS Code, in the GitKraken CLI in the terminal, and coming soon to GitKraken.dev. And really, it's about bringing all of that stuff together. It's listing all of your pull requests, your issues, and even your work in progress that's on your machine in one place so you can prioritize it and you can take action on it. So some of the things that this view is doing for you is it's highlighting the last time these things were active. So you can see kind of an activity stream of all of the items and when the last time someone left a comment or reviewed something. It's also really important for you to see status. So when you want to check on a PR or look at the status of an issue, you should be able to skim that really easily across all of the things that you're working on, across all of your repositories, and get an understanding of what you need to do next. Of course, we want to show you the titles of all of these items and bring in metadata about those from different systems, things like the number of lines changed, if there's comments on your item, but we're also layering it in additional insights from GitKraken with things like PR complexity, something that will show you how large and complex a PR is so that you can understand how long it might take for that thing to get reviewed. We also really want to highlight the people that you're working with, your collaborators. Who is that person that is assigned to your PR review? Who is reviewing, whose PR are you reviewing? Who have you been having that conversation about on a Jira issue with? Seeing all of those people attached to the items that you're prioritizing and facilitating ways to communicate with them easier, notify them that you might need help on something, or ping them about a pull request is what the goal of this focus view is. And of course, we're all working on code, right? So we want to relate everything back to the repository that you're working on and the branch that might be associated with that work across all of your repositories. So you don't have to switch into a specific repo to look at all of your pull requests or go look at Jira to see what items you have. We're consolidating all of that information here and showing you it's this work on this repository on this branch and allowing you to easily jump out to go continue to code or to go review that pull request in the client and go view the file diffs. And then something that I think is really magical and where we're really pushing what we can do in the focus view here is suggesting what the next thing is that you need to do. So if you need to merge a PR because the reviews are done, because CI has passed and GitHub says that that thing is mergeable, well, then we can just highlight to you that that thing is merged. And we can also surface any other actions that you might want to take on any of these other types of items in a way that's really easy to access so that you can just get these things done on your list. Another thing we hear about from developers all the time is they want to be able to prioritize their own stuff. So we're layering additional information onto items in these focus views. One of them is pinning, which basically allows you to pin any items inside of this view so that they float up to the top and you know that these are the most important things that you want to work on. And again, because this is all working within GitKraken, if you access this list on any one of our other products, your pinned items will be there and you will see what is important for you. We've also introduced kind of the opposite of pinning. And if you use Gmail or if you use Slack, you'll be familiar with this. It's the idea of snoozing something. So if you're pruning this list, trying to find the things that are most important, you can snooze the ones that maybe you want to get to tomorrow or next week and put them into another place so that you can come back to them. We're really excited about some of the things that we're working on now to get this to continue to improve on snoozing, which is timed snoozing and kind of activity snoozing. So if you wanted to say, only bring this thing back into my main list when someone comments on a PR that I have open, you could do that. So there's some of the really fun things that we're working on with the focus view, things that you can try across all of our products now. The second feature I want to talk about is cloud patches. Now, the name will make sense in a little bit, but really what cloud patches are about are shortening feedback loops and enabling developers to collaborate earlier in the development process. Usually when we talk to developers, we see that they are collaborating way too late in the process, often by the time that the code has already been pushed up into review. So an individual maybe is coding, trying to figure out a problem. They'll push a review up so that they can add people to come in and take a look at it. And in our opinion, this is way too late in the process. It's harder to make changes when you're already at review stage. Changes that you push up are triggering CI. There's just a lot of good reason to move the collaboration earlier into the development process. What we'd really like to see is developers collaborating earlier at the planning and coding stages where they can be a little more flexible, they can shorten feedback loops to collaborate really quickly about changes that they want to make, and then ultimately have a review that when it is actually submitted is much easier to read through. Everyone's kind of already on board with it and it should get merged a lot faster. Now, what we want to do is we want to take advantage of patches to do this. And a Git patch is really just taking a group of code and putting it into a file. And we've talked about teams that still use patches to collaborate without having to push up a branch. But there's a lot of friction involved in it. You have to download that file. You have to go open up an email and write an email to someone and attach that file and send it to them. They have to find it in their email. They have to go download it. They have to know what repository it's in. They have to know how to go apply it. There's just a lot of cycles involved in getting that kind of little bit of code shared with someone that it's not very easy to do and not a lot of people do it. We want to kind of elevate the patch by providing some services around sharing and collaborating and storing context around changes so that you can use that earlier on in the cycle to collaborate on code. So what is a cloud patch? Cloud patch is really just a Git patch that we are storing in a secure location so that we can give you a link. That link can very easily be shared with someone. And when they follow that link, they get the context about everything on that patch, what repository it should go to, if it's associated with a pull request. If they are using any of the GitKraken tools, they can follow the link to go view that patch and apply it very easily, and then make responses to that so that they can push it out. Now, I do want to call out that cloud patches are incredibly experimental right now. We're in the early stages of figuring out what they can do. But if you're using the GitKraken client or you're using GitLens and VS Code, you should be able to go and try those features by turning on the experimental settings. We're really curious to see kind of what you think about them. Now, what are some of the use cases for cloud patches? So here we are inside of GitKraken client. And I have some working directory changes, and I want to share these easily with someone on my team. Well, what I would be able to do in the GitKraken client is click a button to initiate creating this patch. And it will allow me to add the files that I want to add a quick description so that the person who follows this patch kind of knows what it's all about. And I'll create that patch. And you'll see that we've generated a link that you can use to share to someone. We've added that cloud patch to a list in the client so that you can easily reference it again, get the link, share it with somebody else. You could also think of this as a way to have a really easy kind of cloud stash, right? If you're someone who works on code on one machine and then wishes you had all of your stashes on another, cloud patches would be a way to facilitate that because they would be securely stored and accessible on any machine. So that's the first example of just sharing that code. Someone would be able to follow that link and apply it. But what happens if you're already in the PR phase and you want to suggest some changes? Well, suggesting changes right now can be a little cumbersome, or it cannot have the kind of full power of your IDE behind them. Generally, you have to suggest changes in line, kind of inside of the service that your hosting service has the pull request in. And that can be a little tedious and not quite be exactly what you want. We have a GitKraken browser extension that will now inject controls into your hosting service providers that will let you jump out and make a more complex PR suggestion. So imagine that you would click a button that says, I want to suggest these changes, but I want to do it in GitKraken. That would send you through our deep link service that would send you to your client. And now I'm in the client, I'm on that repository, and it has selected all of the commits that are part of that pull request. So I can see the combined diff of those. And I can really look at them. I can see what the changes are. I could make edits directly inside of GitKraken, but if I really want the full power of my IDE, I'd likely jump out into something like VS Code, right? Now, let's say I just want to comment some of these things out here, and I want to suggest this as a set of changes. I'll go back into the GitKraken client, add a description to what this cloud patch will be. I'm just suggesting these changes and suggest those changes with the link. Now, that link I could manually send to someone, but if they're looking at their pull request, they would come in here and they would see that I suggested these changes to them. They would be able to click that link that goes through the same deep link service and shows them the changes. Now they get to decide which of those changes they actually want to apply and commit and push up to their branch that's going to trigger CI and do everything else on their pull request. The last example I want to give is one that we've heard from a lot of people, and it is really about collaborative merge conflicts. So let's say you're working on some code and you run into a conflict when you're merging. GitKraken client has a really powerful merge conflict editor, but if you still can't figure it out, if this z-index number just isn't something that you understand and you want to get some help from someone else, we want to facilitate sharing the conflict state with someone else. And we can do that with cloud patches. So the idea that you would be that you share this kind of set of changes. You, again, are creating a cloud patch. You're sharing this as a merge conflict that, again, has a link that you can share with someone else. And now that they follow that link, they would be able to get their repository into the same state. If they did it through something like GitLens, they would be able to do that with a work tree that doesn't disrupt their flow that they're in. They could help you resolve that merge conflict, bundle it back up into a response to that cloud patch, and send it back to you so that you could apply it to your repository, resolve the merge, and then move on. So those are just some of the really amazing features that we're working on in GitKraken across all of our products. I hope that they're helpful. I hope you have a chance to go out and try them. Please give us any feedback that you can so that we can help to improve those as quickly as possible. And have a good rest of your GitKon. Thanks, everyone.